Bonjour, I am Jacques Torres from Jacques Torres Chocolates, chocolatier and pastry chef. I am here today to answer your question from the internet, the chocolatier support. So let's start with the first question. Royal Freshness 6. I love that question. Why does my fat ass always crave chocolate or some type of sweets after a meal? My guess is after a good meal, you're going to crave something a little bit sweet, something that's going to make you feel good. Again, sugar and fat going to make you feel good. But chocolates, with all its chemical reaction, going to make you feel even better. So now the next question is Super Gisnerd 9000. How did Switzerland, a landlocked European country, become well known for fine chocolates when both sugar and cacao are grown far away in mostly tropical places? First, Switzerland have a lot of cow and a lot of milk. So it makes sense that Switzerland actually invent milk chocolate. They was the first one to find a way to take dark chocolates and add milk to it using dry milk. Also, Swiss have pretty high standard with taste and flavor. So they was actually picking the best cacao beans from Africa, from South America. So all that make the Swiss very good at making chocolates. The next question is from Richie. What's the deal with Dubai chocolates? I have been seeing it pop up on the menu at the different places the past few months. This is funny, but Dubai chocolates is not really about the chocolates, it's about the pistachio. It was invented in Dubai by a lady. She made those first Dubai chocolate, she posts that into the internet and that go viral. It's a composition of pistachio, kaltaifi, which is a shredded phyllo dough, and then you can add white chocolate, mix everything together, and put that into a chocolate bar. From Baby Cake Bakery. Debate, is white chocolate real chocolate? You have to understand that white chocolate contains cocoa butter. Cocoa butter is about 50% of what contains a cacao bean. So 50% of the cacao bean is in the white chocolate as the cocoa butter. Then addition of milk and addition of sugar, a little bit of lecithin and vanilla, and you have white chocolates. If you don't use cocoa butter and replace this fat by another fat, then it's not white chocolate. But if you use cocoa butter, yes, it is chocolate. Dollhouse. How does chocolate grow in the ground, on vine, on trees, or on bushes? Chocolate comes from a cacao tree. So the cacao tree is actually a pretty nice size tree, and the cacao pod look a little bit like a papaya, and they don't grow on the thin branches. They grow on the trunk and the big branches. So you get a harvest 2 times a year, spring and fall. Then when we harvest those cacao pods, we're going to empty them, and inside we have the cacao beans surrounded with a white pulp. That's going to be fermented for 3, 4, 5 days and then dry under the sun. That's how we receive the cacao beans. So the next question is for Korean Spa LA. What is that white stuff on old chocolate? The chocolate going to go to a process called tempering. Tempering is aligning the molecule of fat in a certain way. So when you put the chocolates into the mold, those molecular fat are going to come together, the chocolate going to retract, come out of the mold. But also the texture of the chocolate changed. The chocolate going to be snappy. Also, the chocolate going to be shiny. Sometimes, if the chocolate is not well tempered, we don't align those molecular fat together and we mold the chocolate, some of that fat come to the top. That fat became a little bit whitish. The flavor going to be exactly the same. But because all those molecular fat are not together, the mouthfeel going to be a little bit different, maybe not as pleasant. Another way to get white stuff on chocolate is if the chocolate is exposed to a heat source, then the chocolate untemper a little bit. And maybe when it recrystallizes, the molecular fat on top going to come a little bit white. If it's scratchy, it's a sugar bloom. If it's very smooth, it's a fat bloom. Actually, plain dark chocolate is good for a couple years at home. So the next question is from Needlewalk 195. Why do people who prefer dark chocolate act like they are so much better than milk chocolates enjoyers. It's a little bit snobby. Look, what you love, it's what is good for you. My guess is if you eat only dark chocolates, you go directly to the flavor of the chocolate. Milk going to put a little barrier to it, and milk chocolates have a tendency of being a little bit sweeter. I crave milk chocolates on the afternoon. I love dark chocolates on the evening. So the next question is from I Like You. I like this name. How important was chocolate to the Inca, the Mayan, and the Aztec? We have a farm in Yucatan, Mexico, where we have a lot of Mayan ruins, and we find a lot of artifacts about chocolates. And we learn that chocolate was very important in their culture. That was the food of the god. Rich people of the time was drinking chocolate, sometimes drink with spices. And they was drinking hot chocolates when they was getting married because it's an important night. And also when they go to war to get more energy. So chocolate is supposed to have all those power to make you stronger during your first night after getting married or going to war. Amazing desire. Why isn't chocolate considered a vegetable if it comes from cacao beans and all beans are vegetable? I like to tell my kids that chocolate is a vegetable and they need to eat more of it. I think it's because we add sugar, we add some cocoa butter, we're going to add some vanilla, we're going to add some lecithin into dark chocolates. So even if chocolates come from a cacao bean, I don't think it's a vegetable. I think it's something between, I don't know, between fruit and candy maybe. And less sugar, certainly better your chocolate is going to be. Veggie tips. I can never get tempering chocolate right. Any tips? You know what? I can show you that now. You're going to need, for tempering chocolates, a double boiler. A stove, water, and the water needs to be just simmering. You break your chocolate in small pieces and you melt your chocolates. Be very careful. You don't want any water into the chocolate. They don't mix very well. So I already did that and my chocolate is melted. So we melt the chocolate to about 100 degree, 105, 110 degree maximum. Then you have some chocolates already cut it in small pieces. Those molecules of fat here are still together. That's called sieving. That's going to help all the molecular fat here to come together. So you take a couple handful of that chocolates, you put it in here, and then you mix it. So you can go two ways. You can leave that in your kitchen and wait like 15 minutes, and the chocolate is going to be soft, almost melted. If you want to know and be sure that your chocolate is tempered, take a knife, dip it into the chocolates, and leave it at room temperature for about a minute. The chocolate should start to thicken. So it's been less than a minute, but look, can you see now? If I touch here, I can see the mark on my finger, but it starts hardening. So if it hardens in less than a minute, the chocolate is tempered. Then you can put it in mold and do whatever you want with it. So the next question is for Pastry 2. Does putting box of chocolate in fridge ruin them? Actually, you can put chocolate in the refrigerator, but you have to wrap the box of chocolate into cellophane wrap or put it into a bag. Why? It's because the refrigerator is going to have some moisture. You don't want moisture to go into your chocolates. Also, if you have onions next to it, chocolate contains fat. Fat absorbs all the flavor. So that's where the problem is. Then, when you take chocolates out of the refrigerator, put them on the counter, leave them there, not opening the box or the plastic for a couple hours. Because condensation going to go on top of the plastic, which is water, and that water can make your chocolates turn white. Then you can open your box and enjoy your chocolates. Hotel Chocolat. Do you know where most of the world cacao is grown? Cacao grows 20 degrees north and south of the equator all around the world. But Africa still today are the biggest producer of cacao. Between 60 and 70% of cacao grow in Africa. This is a lot of chocolates. From Hikomori. Often, I see in media people making chocolate for orders as a gift. How exactly is this made? You can buy some chocolates, melt it, and do something with it. You can mold it into a mold, you can make little bonbons, you can dip fruits in it, and then you put that in bag and give it away. It's a nice gift. Okay, so what can we do with tempered chocolates? So this is a polycarbonate mold. You can buy some plastic mold. They will work about the same. They are not durable. This is very durable. Then you're going to need a rack. I'm going to take a ladle, and I'm going to take my tempered chocolates and put it inside the mold here. Okay, almost done. You see how fast it is? One more time. Voila. So then I'm going to take an offset spatula, tap the side of the mold to chase any air bubble that gets stuck into my mold. And then I'm going to scrape the mold. So I take the excess of the chocolates out. And now, in order to create shells, I'm going to reverse the mold and put the excess and scrape my mold again. You can see now that I have little shell, the same than here, but I need to put it this way so the chocolate going to go around the mold and create those little shells. So that will take few minutes to set. But look what's interesting is that they will just unmold. So that's very good because the chocolate is tempered. When it's tempered, it comes out of the mold very easily. It retracts and comes out of the mold. If it's not tempered, it will not come out. When you're done with that, you can fill those little shells with whatever you like. So imagine that you have guests at home. You can put a little whipped cream as an example and a raspberry on top, and you have a little desserts like that. You can put that on your table. That's one way of doing it. What we do here at the Chocolate Factory, I use some praline. Praline is a mixture of caramels. Then now you can use 200 grams of hazelnuts, stir. Then when it's cold, put it on the blender. And then you get this type of cream. Then you can add 20% milk chocolates to it, and you have the filling of your chocolates. This is a piping bag. I'm going to take the praline into the piping bag. So when you use a piping bag, put your hands here and turn. So this way, nothing going to come that way again. The mixture will come out of the top. Scissors, and then you can start filling your mold. And then when you are used to it, this is the real speed. Voila, that's called showing off. Now, we're going to put this mold into a cooler place in order to have the mixture coming a little bit harder, and I'm going to close that. I put my chocolates about 10 minutes into the refrigerator. The addition of milk chocolates come hard now. So now it's time to close those chocolates. So I'm going to use the same chocolate than before, and then I'm going to put that on top. And then I'm going to push the chocolates around just to be sure that I'm closing all those cavities. I'm going to use that scraper to scrape the top here, make it very clean. Then now, my guess is I can unmold them. So I'm going to show you how we do that. You just take the mold, reverse it, tap it, and the chocolates come out. And this is the finished chocolate. I recommend that. This is delicious. The next question is from Idea World. How does geography affect the flavor of chocolates? Think about wine. Why wine is different in Burgundy than in the south of France? As an example, is the terroir and also the weather. And by terroir, I mean the ground where the grapes going to grow, or the ground where the cacao tree going to grow, going to change the flavor of your chocolates. If you go to Madagascar, if you go to South America or Africa, the trees that we plant, all that going to be that the chocolate is going to have a different flavor. As an example, in South America, you're going to find some very flavorful, whimsical taste of chocolates. So it really depends where you go and also how you ferment and how you're going to process your chocolates. Everything is important, like making wine. Rebuttable sorcerer is the next question. US-based chocolate lovers, are you stocking up due to tariff? The high price of chocolate lately is not due to the tariff. It's actually due to not enough chocolates in the world, due to higher temperature in Africa, more rain, not enough rain, disease. We miss about 40% of cacao in the world. This is why cacao is a little bit more expensive. Arena 101. How to make chocolate less prone to melt if chocolate is real chocolates and contain what we call cocoa butter. It will melt. There's nothing we can do about it. Now, Milk chocolate is going to melt even faster. So my guess is, if you have a hot apartment, maybe you wrap your chocolate, put it into the refrigerator or in a cooler place. Those refrigerators for wine work very well, and they are not as cold as a refrigerator. If chocolate melts, that means it's real chocolate. Shari Ray is the next question. What is the oddest pairing that you have tried that actually work with chocolates? Any recipes? Oldest pairing with chocolate is actually spices, ancho and chipotle chili. It works beautifully, just don't put too much of it. From LOX, how did chocolate become an Easter thing? Person say, I ask while eating chocolate. Easter come at spring. And what is spring? Spring is renewing. Spring is birth. This is why, especially in Europe, when it's Easter time, you find a lot of chocolate egg. So this is why you will find chocolates for Easter and especially Easter eggs. The next question is for Cas98 time 2. Why milk chocolate doesn't expire for ages, but milk expire in a couple days? The milk into your chocolate is dry milk. What makes the milk spoiled is actually the water content into the milk. Now, if you remove all that water and you have dry milk, it's not going to spoil very fast. You have few months. So the next question is from Kinchilada. Is this a potential threat of chocolate going extinct by 2050 going to be the event that finally bring world together? It's a lot of rumor about that. And I don't think that chocolate going to go extinct. But there is more and more challenge growing cacao. Global warming, sometimes too much rain, sometimes not enough. Then we have development of different fungus and disease into the cacao tree. When that happens, you have to burn the tree. A tree takes 3 to 5 years to mature and to get cacao. This is why lately chocolate is so expensive. But scientists are working on finding different ways of making trees that are going to support a little bit more heat. Or maybe planting the tree in different places. Another problem is farmers, until now, did not make enough money. So they stopped growing cacao. But lately, chocolate is at about 2.5 times the price of 2 years ago. So because it's more expensive, it's because we have less cacao, but farmers get more money. So I don't think that cacao will be extinct. Might be a little bit more expensive. A core user asks, how does a chocolate factory work? You know what? I am in my factory. Come with me. I'm going to show you all my secrets. This beautiful machine behind me is called a roaster. So we will take the cacao beans or the almonds, put them on top. We're going to roast them. And then when they are roasted, they're going to go into this machine to cool them down. Then we have a piece of equipment here to make the chocolate from scratch. This is called a winnower. That's where we put the cacao beans on that side. The cacao beans going to come this way, cracked. The nibs going to come on that side. The shell going to fall on the other side. And then we will put the nibs inside the McIntyre. And the McIntyre going to ground everything and crunch the chocolates. This is how we make chocolates. That's the machine that helps us making chocolates 500 kilo or 1,100 pounds at a time. This is the warm room. Why? It's because we have melted chocolate in this room. We have big melter, 5-ton melter, 1-ton melter. The chocolate is pushed through a pump and from the pump into the ceiling, into those wide pipes. And in different stations, we can open a valve and the chocolate will flow into a machine. Or you can take a chocolate shower. This is called a pen coating machine. Pen coating machine, imagine that you take almonds and you put a couple 100 pounds of almonds in there, spin it. So now the almonds are tumbling and it's kind of a rain of chocolates on top of those almonds. The almonds going to get enrobed with chocolates, but because the movement and the cold air, they don't going to stick together. They keep rolling like that. And it's called grossing. So we gross the almonds, they become bigger. When we have as much chocolate and almonds, we stop it and they are ready to be eaten. I keep talking about the center of the chocolate, so the filling. This is where we mix our filling. We actually put the chocolate, the cream, the alcohol, the fruits, close the machine, and we vacuum the air out. No air means less oxidation, longer shelf life. So we don't put chemical to have a longer shelf life. We do it mechanically. This is the ganache room. So we will put here those big aluminum trays all the way and back, and we put some rulers around them with a piece of paper on the bottom, and then we're going to pour the filling of the chocolates. So the filling of the chocolate is going to go on top of the ruler, make them flat, let them cool down. Next day, we use a machine called a guitar that's going to cut those little chocolates into square, and then we put those little filling square into the enrobing line, and the enrobing line going to enrobe those chocolates. This is an enrobing line. I love this machine. Imagine that we take pretzels or even the filling of a chocolate. They go on the belt here, and you can see under the chocolates come out as a waterfall. So the chocolate is going to come here, get covered top and bottom. Then from there, it will go under a fan. Then from the fan into a vibrating belt, and from the vibrating belt into a refrigerator. That's a cooling tunnel. Okay, so when the chocolates come out of the enrobing line, then they're going to go into a belt, and the belt is basically a refrigerator, and the chocolates end up in packaging. Okay, that's all the questions that I have for today. I hope that you learned something. Thank you for watching Chocolatier Supports.